Alright, so today we're taking a look at Grixis Reanimator in history format. So we got a new card that I kind of wanted to test. It's this card called Loki. It's a 1 card that says each creature you control that you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on this turn has hexproof. And it also has the ability to grow whenever you draw your second card each turn. You put a +1/+1 counter on this card. So the most important thing about this card is it can protect something like a Psychic Frog from being targeted, since the Psychic Frog can just discard any card at any given point to put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. If they have a removal spell, they have to go through the Loki first, which kind of acts as a barrier for your turn 2 play. Another card the Loki actually synergizes with is the Emperor Bones, which is going to be our combo piece here. Obviously, this can adapt to put a +1/+1 counter on this card. You can also potentially save the Emperor Bones from dying, especially if you're not trying to combo yet. But if you just want some pressure, you can also adapt to save the Emperor Bones, which just means that if they have removal spell, again, they have to kind of go through your Loki here. And some of the ways you can actually put the counter on this card is going to be through Grand, Psychic Frog, and Faithless Looting. All of those can, draw extra card to grow the Loki here. Otherwise, we do have a sneaky little trick. If they try to use a removal spell on your turn, you can also cycle the Unearth at instant speed and grow the Loki as well. But otherwise, our main game plan is going to be discarding creatures into the graveyard so that we can actually reanimate the Oculus and Ulamog. And then we're going to be unearthing the Emperor Bones or the Oculus to win the game. Emperor Bones, obviously, if you pair it up with the Ulamog, you do win the game immediately. Otherwise, unearthing the Oculus is usually going to be enough to win the game. So having said that, we're going to be hopping over to our first game here in history format. So let's take a look. Alright, we're going to be taking a look at Loki deck today. I just need 1 discard spell, and we do have the combo. But apart from that, it's a bit of a weekend, I would say. A Fellmire into a Stitcher Supplier. Whenever you cast a black spell from your hand, this thing connives. That's a pretty cool card. Wait, is this a card that we should consider? Exile any number of black cards from the graveyard. If it's 15 or more black mana, symbols amongst them, copy those exiled cards. Okay, so it has to be... Oh, they're even playing Calling the Weak. Wait, opponent. You could have taken away the Ulamog? Yeah, that's kind of weird. What opponent did there? Oh, what am I saying? Because we had the Fatal Push, so the Emperor Bones, we could have actually denied it. Okay, it all makes sense now. I'm the one that's bad. I'm the one that's bad here. I can't believe our first opponent is, we're playing against an Emperor Bones mirror. We're gonna have a strategic betrayal. Probably instead of a spell pierce. I'm not really digging my sideboard. I think I'm gonna change it after this game. We're gonna take out the looting. Since we have a lot of discard spells. I kind of like their deck, by the way. I like the fact that they're playing the ritual card. Speaking of which. Ruinous Waterbending. Okay, so... I'll play the Psychic Frog. What if I double block this? Ah, nah, it's just too risky. Wow, LAKEY. So they're trying to get out like these expensive creatures. It makes sense. Into a Thoughtseize. Good choice. Oh, that would have been sick, by the way. Actually, it would have been sick. So opponent's stuck on mana, right? So how does it work in? Exile any number of black cards. Copy those exiled with 15 or more black mana. Copy those exiled cards. You may cast up to 3 of them without paying their mana cost. Did they not have it? Activate this ability only if this creature attacked this turn. Oh. I see. That's how it works. Well. Kind of in trouble. They're going to be able to just win the game next turn. And we are not really in a good spot. I was really hoping for to draw a land there, but we did not. Can we see a land? Don't we just lose though? Like they can just cast like any 3 spells and we lose the game? Oh, that's a good card, isn't it? Okay. That's a good pickup. Am I dead? Maybe I'm dead. Since they can get the Baron out, right? Oh my god, if this was a black source. They're gonna be able to cast like 3 cards, right? It's kind of cool, actually. I like what they're doing. Target opponent loses half their life, rounded up. Okay, so I see opponent's combo here, right? I see what they're trying to do. I see. So the card that's like the most important seems like the Emperor Bones. Emperor Bones. Strategic Betrayal. So we want those cards. I see. Okay, we have a really good hand. We can start with the Thoughtseize into looting into a Pornoculus. Okay, so let's get rid of Emperor Bones. We'll go looting into Unearth. That's actually a really, really dangerous combo, isn't it? Alright, so we can't give Ulamog to opponent because they have an Emperor Bones. So we'll probably... Tybalt can actually become a Pornoculus as well. I think I'm just going to get rid of a Kid Loki here. Try to win off of this Pornoculus. Most likely they're gonna play Emperor Bones, and then we'll try to Thoughtseize the Loki here. A land would be nice. Maybe I shouldn't have actually attacked with it. That could have been actually pretty bad, thinking about it. Okay, we got a land and a Fatal Push. So... I think trying to get another... So we want to get rid of this Valky and maybe Stitcher Supplier? Valky and Emperor Bones here? Or are we okay with the Valky copying the Pornoculus? I think I'm just gonna bottom these two. A Bogart Trawler. So Bogart Trawler is gonna come down next turn. I'll just hold on to this Fatal Push. Okay, Kid Loki's pretty good. So Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on this creature. So in response to opponent, should I let them adapt first before fatal pushing? Then it would waste opponent's turn, but... This is a kind of a tricky situation, actually. I think I'll just let them, okay. It actually worked out better than expected because it would have been actually kind of bad if the Emperor Bones like kept sticking around doing nothing. So that was kind of my my fear there. I'll just pass with the Spell Pierce. Alright, GG's. Kind of a very cool deck opponent was playing. Okay, we have a pretty cool hand here. We have a pretty cool hand. We can discard the Ulamog. Oh, wow. Okay, so I have to get rid of this card for sure. So I think opponent's probably gonna get rid of a Psychic Frog, maybe. And then opponent will probably get rid of a Emperor Bones after that. So what is like the best course of action? Is Unearthing better here? Because then it denies opponent from ever casting this Bandit's Talent? Or playing a Psychic Frog here, is that better because I am drawing a bunch of cards? I think I'm going to go with the Emperor Bones first. Because then they can't play the Bandit's Talent. So they're gonna have to Thoughtseize. Okay, so there was no any other plays there then. Okay. You know what? I'll take it. Have you guys seen my Loki around? Wow. What a top deck. Okay, so this is a discard heavy deck. Very, very discard heavy deck. I guess I'll have a copy of a Strategic Betrayal. Like, is that even good? I might actually not sideboard because the only creature that I'm afraid of is Daughty Voidwalker, right? Which can be dealt with the Thoughtseizes and Fatal Push. Like, do I care about opponent's graveyard by playing this? Maybe a Toxic Deluge. In case opponent gets like more copies on the battlefield. But I think that's about it. I think because opponent's playing a heavy discard spell deck, I'll probably get rid of a Faithless Looting. Alright, we got a Grand with the Loki combo. Okay, Thoughtseize comes out. Bone's taking some sweet old time. This Thoughtseize must be very difficult. Okay, they went with the Kid Loki. Sure. We drew another Kid Loki anyways. But hopefully this Grand kind of gets us there. So the best card I can maybe see from opponent is that 2-mana discard spell, the enchantment. Oh, Smallpox. That's really bad. Yeah, that's really bad. Okay, that's good. I'd rather have a Grand than a Kid Loki at this point. That's for sure. Oh, come on. Come on, opponent. I thought we were here to play games, not play games like this. So, double Smallpox gone. I want to say I don't have to worry about a second one. I'll shock this in case they have a land into a creature. Okay, we're gonna play this out. I'll play the land and pass. Okay, they found another land here. And they surrender. Looks like they are out of removals. Oh, that's... this is a pretty good hand. Isn't it? So I think I'll start with the Unearth right now. I'll bottom this one and that one. Alright, it seems like it might be Reprieve. Okay, it is. A Cunning Azure Scale. Okay, so this actually might be a control deck. Also, Emperor Bones, we just milled that card. Oh, it's a Lotus Field. I see. I mean, so I don't really have to do anything right now. Oh, I didn't get a untapped land, so... I actually do have to play the Emperor Bones. But then it's so risky to a board wipe. That's a good one, though. So I believe there's gonna be a board wipe here. A farewell. Wow. I didn't expect a farewell. I expected a board wipe, but I didn't expect a farewell. I was expecting like a 3-mana board wipe, or maybe a Wrath of God or Supreme Verdict, but yeah, that's a weird one. Opponent's just back in the game, just like that. Okay, well... They even play a Fragment Reality. I'll leave this one for a Grand Grand. I think opponent might be playing a Snapcaster Mage as well. This is a Giga control deck that's playing a Lotus Field. So we saw Azure Scale, right? That one has a Flash and a Flying, and it's a 6-mana card. I'm guessing that's the card that they have. But I'm still gonna attack because the Grand Grand can discard a card right now, and we kind of need it. And we also have things like Unearth. Wandering Emperor.
I've learned much during my travels. Let me show you.
I'm surprised they minus though. They could have actually
What you get for hurting my people.
made a token? I think I'm just going to play out my creatures here. Hoping that there's no second board wipe. And if it wasn't for that farewell, they would have lost. It's kind of crazy. So if the fairy comes out, we can kind of kill it. Trick Proctor doesn't do anything for our for our deck.
No moves to teach you.
So they counter spell, play Fatal Push again, and then we kill the Teferi. So we could activate this and then try to kill both of the Planeswalkers here, but then they could also have a removal spell. It's kind of risky when I have Unearth.
May your blade strike true.
Let's see, we can potentially win here if we get something decent, no? Okay.
Strike fast and strike hard.
Okay, I think they actually had a Stifle. So that's the card they had, I think. Alright, looks like this game might be over. Yeah. The Spell Pierce is good. Mystical Dispute is also pretty good. I'll go down on 2 lootings. Alright, we have a Kid Loki, but we don't have a second land. And we're playing on 18 land deck and going first, so we're gonna mulligan that one. Gran is pretty good. So opponent has a bunch of counter spells. They have a Stifle, so I think we get rid of opponent's Stifle here. I really wanted to get rid of the Cunning Azure Scale, but they drew another one. Right, we got a Psychic Frog. That's really, really good. So we're gonna go with the Psychic Frog here. This time around, hopefully we shut down opponent's Lotus Field. So hopefully they're stuck with like expensive cards. Alright, very nice. So we got an Abhorrent Oculus. They also play a Supreme Verdict, by the way, so I do have to kind of watch out for that. Okay, that's actually perfect, because now I can Thoughtseize, get rid of this, Unearth. Okay, what about an Alpine Moon? Maybe I call Lotus Field... Maybe I have an Alpine Moon in there just to be a little bit cheeky. Yeah, maybe the card to go is a looting. This matchup is like kind of all about like having more cards than my opponent. But then if I get rid of the looting, I have Gran on and Psychic Frog only. That's kind of brisky. Maybe I'll go down on 1 copy of Loki. A Gran start. An opponent surrenders for some reason just because they had to mulligan? What? Right, we have a Kid Loki. We have a looting. I think because of the looting, this is a keepable hand. I think without it, it would have been kind of difficult. Ooh, that's kind of bad. We need to land pretty bad here. Okay, we found a land. I think I just go Psychic Frog right now. I might even just discard everything, by the way. Corey Steel Cutter. They're playing the nerfed version. Okay, so they couldn't attack. We'll play the Kid Loki. So we see an Emperor Bones. Okay, well... we're still not gonna attack, and we're also gonna keep the land. Play with fire. Alright, we got a Spell Pierce. I think we are going to be attacking now. Let's go with the Kid Loki to protect the Psychic Frog. Now, I'm not really sure if I'm going to be blocking with the Oculus. Okay, so they are going to... What just happened? Was it another Skewer the Critic? I think that was actually... But then you could have still attacked and then used it. But then I could have just blocked too. I guess it's understandable why they surrendered. If that's the case. Consume by History is in. I'm kind of reluctant to put in a Toxic Deluge. Just because you lose life, but it might be better than a Thoughtseize here. And I'll have a Strategic Betrayal. And I'll also have... What do I put in? what am I putting in here? Maybe still keep one copy of a Thoughtseize in. Alright, very, very similar looking hand. The only downside here is that we have a starting town. So I will start with the Grand. They attack. Alright, we got another land. But we are already down to 13. Just because of the starting town. So Skewer the Critic comes out. Would have been nice if I had a Loki down. But I went with the Grand just in case, you know. I lose a Psychic Frog, which is kind of important. Consumed by History. That's a good one. So I can block with a Grand and then Consumed by History. Is what I'm thinking here. That land was pretty important, so I don't lose too much life when I'm trying to cast Fatal Push and Consume by History. Really? Oh no, that's kind of bad. I have to use a Fatal Push on my own creature. Or not? It's actually kind of crazy that they are playing a Claim the Firstborn, though. That is very, very dangerous for me. Alright, Abhorrent Oculus seems pretty good here. I think that's what I'll do. If they have another Claim the Firstborn, though, it's kind of bad. In case they have a Claim the Firstborn, I shouldn't attack. Okay, that's good. Alright. So... I need to make a scenario where I can win the following turn, right? $10 damage, and then the next turn I deal 10 damage. I'm not sure, like, if they draw a land, I think I might die. Okay. I drew... Okay, we won. Nice. Alright, so we took a look at the Kid Loki Psychic Frog deck today. Initially, I was actually gonna try this in Timeless just because the Kid Loki has access to a Brainstorm in there. But I thought it was a little bit too cute, so I tried this in Historic, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. We went 7-2. But I can't quite say how important the Kid Loki truly was. Because a lot of the times when Kid Loki came down, it did eat a removal spell, but in the future turns, I play the Psychic Frog. Because opponent just used a removal spell, they didn't have another one. Was it the effect of the Kid Loki, or, you know, eating a removal spell? So it was kind of hard to kind of visually see the impact of the Kid Loki too much. Yeah, I'm not really 100% sure about this card. There were some moments where the Kid Loki plus a Grand also kind of helped, you know, attacking with a Grand. You play the Grand first, and then you play the Kid Loki the turn after. This is going to grow into 2/2, right? And then you have the Psychic Frog, getting that +1/+1 counter so that it doesn't eat a removal spell. But is that better than something like a Force of Negation in protecting the Psychic Frog? You know, sometimes it can be, because if you play the Psychic Frog on turn 2, and you don't have the third land to play, you know, Force of Negation on your turn, they can just wait until it's your turn and then Fatal Push the Psychic Frog to avoid the Force of Negation. In that aspect, you know, Kid Loki could be really good there, but the Kid Loki having some synergy with the Emperor Bones is also cool and not that cool at the same time, right? Because if the Emperor Bones can adapt too, you should win the game anyways, right? But I guess if the Kid Loki is here, The Emperor Bones, at least you get a 4/4 out of it, which is kind of cool. So sometimes like that could be relevant. Just having another 4/4 on the battlefield and opponent losing a fatal push, something like that. But it's definitely hard to tell the effect of this card too much. Another thing is the kid Loki can't really actually protect itself because Grand attacking is not instant speed. Looting is also not instant speed. Psychic Frog, getting a hit off of it is also not at an instant speed. So if they do have a removal spell, it's very likely that they're just going to get rid of this. So the only time where the Kid Loki could be useful is if they don't have a second removal spell, the Psychic Frog lives. So I'm a little bit like kind of iffy on this card. I don't think the card was too impactful, but rest of the deck, I mean, we played this rest of the deck before. The rest of the deck was really good. I think the Kid Loki could easily be, a Dot Scour or more copies of Spell Pierces or Force of Negation. I think those all kind of work. So I don't think the Kid Loki is like super important, unless opponents kind of low on removal spells. But it does also kind of help your aggro plan. So for example, like if you started with the Grand, you have the Kid Loki. Later on, you deploy like Psychic Frog, and then Emperor Bones. Like you don't actually need the Olumog or the Abhorrent Oculus to kind of win the game. Especially if your graveyard is shut down. That's kind of cool, but the aggro strategy is a little bit slow in my opinion. So that's also kind of like meh as well. Another thing that's kind of holding this deck back is the lack of Prismatic Vista. Prismatic Vista is actually pretty hard to fit it into this deck. It's definitely possible, but considering that we are playing a 18 land deck, fitting these cards is actually kind of hard. Since you're not gonna have like too many lands on the battlefield. Like most of the times you're gonna have like 2 lands on the battlefield, and then sometimes out of luxury, like you might have a third land to hard cast the Oculus. So in an 18 land deck, I don't think you can play the Prismatic Vista, which does make the Fatal Push very, very weak, in my opinion. So that's kind of bad. But I don't think it's something that you can fix unless you play another removal spell. Potentially, like, what you can do is maybe you could also play maybe a copy of a Molten Collapse. I think that could be pretty good. You do have a Psychic Frog to put a permanent card into the graveyard with the Psychic Frog or with the Grand and looting. So maybe the Molten Collapse is actually pretty good. If I were to play again, probably do something like so. I don't think the Loki is very good in this deck. Maybe even like cut one copy of it for another copy of Fatal Push. Try something like that if I play it. As for the sideboard, we have, the Eldrazi, the Consigned to Memory versus Eldrazi matchup. Alpine Moon versus Valakut. You have a Stone of Eric versus a Samite Gamgee. You have a Strategic Betrayal versus something like Phoenix. They put one, skull down on the battlefield. You can exile a creature, and then you can also exile opponent's graveyard. Also pretty good against like other Reanimators. We have one copy of Consume by History and one copy of a Toxic Deluge versus a creature deck. And then we have a Damping Sphere versus a Phoenix deck or Storm deck. And then we have 2 copies of Mystical Dispute versus other blue decks out there, and 1 copy of Meltdown versus Affinity. So yeah, that is gonna be it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye bye.